Tendulkar came along. Tendulkar ruled for almost 25 years, but the first one has to be Gavaskar. Legends of the game, Gavaskar and Border. Once you get used to the pace and bounce of the wicket, then you can manage the most hostile bowling attack. And they would not have heard too much of Allan Border.
And Allan Border is not just the name of a Hindi movie.
What is Gavaskar's record, which is not broken yet?
He has scored a double century on all the 4 innings of a test match.
Gavaskar was very passionate about cricket, about his own batting. He always tried to improve. That's a hallmark of a great player.
Hello and welcome to Kricket Wicket. We have a lot of cricketing action going on. We have Test cricket, ODIs, T20 matches, and with all the cricketing action that's going on, we thought we will have our own unique podcast which we'll be bringing to you. It will be informative. It will also be entertaining. With the Border-Gavaskar trophy happening around and with all the chatter around it, we thought that will be a great topic to start with. Mahesh, what do you think?
Absolutely. And imagine, Border-Gavaskar trophy, named after 2 great players, 2 legends of the game, Gavaskar and Border. The Gen Z might not even know that Gavaskar was a great opening batsman. For them, it would be that he's just a commentator. And they would not have heard too much of Allan Border.
And Allan Border is not just the name of a Hindi movie. Border.
Yes. So
there's more to Gavaskar than being just a commentator, and to Border than being just a movie.
Correct. Yeah. So we need to tell them how great these players were. Okay. So let's start with Sunil Gavaskar.
Closer home.
And to me, he was definitely a legend of the game.
Absolutely.
Because if you see, it's difficult to compare players from different eras.
Across eras, yeah.
Because different condition, different opponents, a lot of other things. Whereas if you compare an opening batsman in the 70s and 80s with Gavaskar is actually head and shoulders above the rest.
That's true.
We talk about...
The numbers speak, right?
Oh, definitely. You speak about Jeffrey Boycott, who was supposed to be technically very, very correct. Then you had 2 great West Indian opening batsmen, Gordon Greenidge and Desmond Haynes. Then you had Glenn Turner. So you had a lot of players, as opening batsmen. But Gavaskar's average
51
is 51. And what is the second highest average?
Below 50, all of them.
All of them below 50. Jeffrey Boycott, who we all believe is a damn good opening batsman, average is just 47. Then you have Greenidge and Haynes. How much do they average?
44, 42, like that. Below 45.
They're far, far behind Sunil Gavaskar.
Think of that. Greenidge, Haynes never had to face Marshall, Holding, Garner, Roberts.
Imagine. They didn't have to face
and
the
Jeffrey
fastest
Boycott
ball.
did not have to face Botham, Willis,
John Snow,
others.
Yeah. Whereas Gavaskar had to play all of them in conditions in West Indies, England, Australia, and he came out on top. Another very interesting aspect about Gavaskar is the fact that when they were playing, pitches were
uncovered.
Not covered. Yeah. So that means there was a lot of spice on the wicket. Remember, he came in as an opening
Also protection.
Batsman. Protection was very, very ordinary. So there is a good story, about Gavaskar actually taking towels from the hotel room to keep it between the pad and his leg, so that when the impact of the ball is reduced. So that was the quality of equipments that.
Interesting. You mentioned about averages and all the names: Jeffrey Boycott, Gordon Greenidge, all of them greats in their own right. Nobody has an average close to 50. We talk of when we compare batters. Normally, we talk about players who are number 3, number 4, number 5, maybe in the odd occasion. Gavaskar used to be an opening batter in an era of scant protection, uncovered wickets. And,
terrific bowling attack.
Terrific bowling attack. Statistically, you look at the other openers, they're like quite far away behind him. Look at little openers who have burst onto the scene a little later. Alistair Cook or David Warner, all greats in their own rights, right? Nobody's at 50. You have number 3s and 4s who are close to 50. Okay. So truly, statistically and otherwise, I think
outstanding opening batsman. And also probably the reason that his level of concentration was the reason why he was such a successful batsman. Imagine the ball is new, the bowlers are fresh, and you have to face them with, like what you said, no helmet, The equipments were
Yeah.
hardly protective,
That's right.
and he was really successful.
So one thing, when you spoke about concentration, Gavaskar, from the way he played the game, and from the way he talks about the game now, he talks about concentration a lot. And even today, when a batter gets out, he somehow links it to a mistake or a lapse in concentration.
Correct.
He was not one of those batters who had this fatalistic approach, like sooner or later I'm going to get an unplayable ball, so let me make merry when I'm there.
No.
He believes that he can hold off the bowlers for the whole day and for the next day also.
So I think he was one of the early guys who said that give the first session to the bowler and the rest of the day is yours. Which is so correct, right? I mean, once you get used to the pace and bounce of the wicket, then you can manage even the most hostile bowling attack. Okay, let me throw you a small question. What is Gavaskar's record which is not broken yet?
Quite a few, but I think the one that I really like is the fact that he has scored a double century on all the 4 innings of a test match. First,
Phenomenal.
second, third or fourth.
Isn't
phenomenal.
It?
Yeah.
I mean, 4th inning, imagine scoring 200 runs.
Yeah, the Oval 1979.
Which we almost won that match, right?
Yeah. Want to talk about that a little bit for our viewers?
Because we started the day and Gavaskar and Chauhan actually got it going. And finally we lost. We drew. I mean, the match got drawn. We fell short by, I think, 9 runs, if I'm not mistaken.
So I think it was 437 chase.
Yeah.
Unheard of those days. But not really unheard of, because Gavaskar had inspired a 406 chase. But 437 was tough on the oval conditions. We reached 429 for 8, and he was there till tea. I think he was the 3rd or 4th to get out, and then we felt like a pack of cards, and we had to resort to defense and somehow
correct. Now, good point you said. Felt like a pack of cards. That was the reason why Gavaskar basically was a very aggressive batsman in his university days, college days. He was a very attacking batsman. Soon he realized that his wicket was the most important wicket, and that's the reason why he did not play too many shots. He curbed his natural instinct, which these days batsmen say they can't curb natural instincts and they keep playing probably outside the off stump or wherever it is, right?
That's a very relevant topic, especially in the context of the recent New Zealand Test series, right?
So he curbed his natural instinct, and more importantly, he was able to ensure that India fought against all opponents. I mean, like what you said, the moment he got out, we would just capitulate.
That's right. Okay, I want to ask you something. You're born and brought up in Mumbai, and like the great man himself, do you have anything to tell us with respect to things we don't know much? Not much is known about him. Other things that are not known so much about him. We know a lot about him, but you may know a few things which people don't know.
So the passion part, Gavaskar was very passionate about cricket, about his own batting. He always tried to improve. That's a hallmark of a great player. You are not happy with what you are. You keep trying to improve. So I was doing my umpiring classes.
Okay. When was this?
This was probably around 1999, 2000, I think.
Okay.
Around 2000. Pilu Reporter was the
umpire?
The Pilu Reporter, the great umpire. I think he sadly passed away.
Yeah.
He was teaching us.
He was your faculty?
He was my faculty. And more interestingly, he knew Gavaskar reasonably well because he used to go to PMG office. And he would have a discussion with Gavaskar. So he told us a very interesting anecdote. He said, must be in the late 70s or something, Gavaskar had come from an international tour in the wee hours of the morning. Okay. And he had a club match, which is like a Kanga League match at Shivaji Park the same day, the following day in the sense. When the umpires and the players came, they saw that Gavaskar had already reached there and he was sleeping on the roller. So they woke him up and they asked him, how is it that you've come here so early? So he said, see, I was feeling very sleepy. Had I been very comfortable at home, the probability of me coming to the ground would have been very, very less. I would have just dozed off. So just to ensure that I don't sleep and lose an opportunity to come and play, I decided to come and sleep here. That was the kind of passion.
That speaks volumes about...
Incredible.
And there's something for us to learn from this, right? Somebody at that level, I mean, When would this have been? 1980 or so?
Yeah, maybe around
so
that time.
He was already a big
Oh,
force
he was a
in
big
world.
name. He was a big name.
Probably captain.
Captain India. He was a big name. He was a superstar. Probably a global icon. Probably he was India's first superstar.
Absolutely.
In cricket.
Yeah.
I mean, then the
For me,
Kapil
he
Dev.
was my first sporting hero.
Correct.
Yeah.
Then followed Kapil Dev, and then we had a few of them. Tendulkar came along. Tendulkar ruled for almost 25 years, but the first one has to be Gavaskar.
So there are quite a few records to his name, and we sometimes forget it because a lot of time has elapsed since he used to play. He was the one who went past Don Bradman's record of 29 Test centuries. Firozshah Kotla, he
Correct.
did his 29th,
Brilliant
and in the
century.
same series, he went past him. And
Chennai.
Chennai. Retired with maximum number of test runs, first in the world to reach 10,000 test runs.
Yeah.
So he has left his mark. So in a way, we talk about Tendulkar as the Bombay Bradman. So in a sense, Gavaskar was the first Bombay Bradman, right?
He was a superstar. Make no mistake of it. I'm sure even Tendulkar would readily agree
to that. Yeah.
That probably Gavaskar was the reason that Tendulkar picked up cricket.
Absolutely.
So he was, make no mistake. Nowadays, last 25 years, he must be in the comm box. And every time he speaks, there are pearls of wisdom that come out, right? He reads the game very differently. He can actually tell you what is correct and what is wrong. It's technically so perfect, Gavaskar.
Okay, let's talk something about a few good, unique, memorable knocks of his. The way he started his career.
That's another very interesting thing, Vishnu. He started with a bang in the West Indies, scored, I think, 774 runs in the first series.
Still a world record for
Still a world
debutant,
record. Yeah. Debut series against the West Indies, in West Indies. Incredible. But he closed his career with probably, according to me, the best innings that I have seen of Gavaskar. Scoring 96.
In his very last
test innings. Treacherous wicket at Bangalore.
Against
Iqbal Qasim and Tausif Ahmed and Pakistan. A Pakistan test match itself is a high voltage match.
Yes.
Then you have a wicket which is crumbling. And then you have two world-class spinners in Iqbal Qasim and Tausif Ahmed. And to deny them and stand there for almost a day, it's incredible. He scored 96. And the way he got out, another treacherous delivery, just jumped and spun and got out. So Gavaskar was brilliant. To me, I think he knew how to play spin bowling. As an opening batsman, you're supposed to be good in playing pace bowling. But tell me how many opening batsmen can play spin bowling well? Gavaskar was definitely a fantastic could play spin bowling extremely well. The reason he did that was his footwork. He was very, very sure about what he was doing, whether he had to go front or back. Even you look at all the old videos, his balance is perfect. He knows whether he has to go either full front or full back. He is never caught in the crease.
Interesting. There are a couple of grounds which were very special to him, right? Port of Spain, for example. 4 centuries in Port of Spain.
And they made a song.
The Calypso.
The Calypso?
Yeah.
Very interesting.
The way he started his career, in his first series, he had centuries. And then the famous 1976 tour, there are 2 matches in Port of Spain. The first one, he scored a century. The second one, which is now part of folklore. The 460. So 4 centuries in consecutive matches in one venue.
Which is fabulous.
Yeah,
which is a record.
There's also another unique. He has that record in Wankhede also. So Wankhede is his home turf, special. Port of Spain, special. That kind of reminds me. His overseas average was higher than his India average. 51 is his average, 52 outside India. And
so who's the other player who had that kind of?
The one we're going to talk about next. That kind of gives a cue as to who is really great. 10,000 runs, that late cut of Ijaz Faki too, that is still etched in memory. Ahmedabad, right?
Yeah.
Incidentally, Ahmedabad is when he went past boycott also.
Yeah?
The West Indies series.
Correct.
Yeah. So
that's another good ground for him. That is the old Motera ground, I think. Na?
That's the Motera ground, yeah.
That's not the new stadium came much later. But is there anything special that you know about Gavaskar which you would like to tell the viewers?
So, for me, it's about my experience as a fan. In a way, Gavaskar, I would say, is the reason I started watching cricket. You always feel that there is a team that you support, there is a cause that you identify with as a fan, but very often there is always the role of a special individual. for me, the reason for watching cricket and started showing increasing level of interest has always been Gavaskar.
How would you rate Gavaskar as a captain?
Okay. Okay. 47 test matches as captain, 9 wins and 8 defeats. So more wins than defeats. I'll give him some credit for that. He had a defensive approach to captaincy, especially those days. We've spoken about it a little while earlier. You had mentioned it, right? We didn't have the best of attacks. We did not have the firepower to take 20 wickets in a test match. So very often, as a batter and as a captain, he was always with his back to the walls. So he has had a defensive approach to captaincy, but he has also, when you had to press the pedal, he had done that also. So, we are all, we play the cards we are dealt, right? Those were the cards he was dealt as a captain. But I certainly remember the WCC 85, when India under Gavaskar won the Benson and Hedges mini World Cup. It's like the Champions Trophy of today.
Yeah.
And Ravi Shastri famously won the Audi.
Correct.
And many people experts say this was the best Indian ODI outfit. Never lost a match.
And defeated everybody convincingly.
And we took 10 wickets every match,
I think we bowled out everybody except the finals.
Except the finals, yeah.
And with a good set of players that we had. But he did not open in that World Championship of cricket.
In fact,
he batted number 5.
Shastri and Srikanth became a famous opening pair in one-day matches.
And Azhar came at 3.
So Gavaskar not opening, there was a very famous test innings also.
Correct.
But we started from 0. That's the big thing.
Correct.
His 30th century, India was 0 for 2 when he came to bat.
Though he wanted to bat lower down, so he was batting at number 4, right?
Yeah. He got that. He got what he wanted. He batted lower down, but the ball was still new.
And the score was 0.
That famous
line by Richards?
Yeah. No matter what you're going
number
to start.
You come in, the score is still 0.
Yeah. So no doubt, Gavaskar absolutely worthy to be after whom the trophy is named. I mean, it's named after 2 greats, one Australian and one Indian. And who better than Gavaskar?
I think
deserves that honor.
I agree. Gavaskar is probably the best name that could have been etched in that trophy.
Absolutely. Let's move to
Allan Border.
Allan Robert
I know
Border.
Allan Border is a big favorite of yours.
Yeah. I have to admit to that. Why? Because I've read a lot about him those days, and I used to like the circumstance under which he would play his knocks. Okay, I'll tell you a bit about his stats. We spoke about Gavaskar being the first to move past 10,000.
Correct.
Allan Border was the one who went past Gavaskar.
True.
He retired with 11,174 runs, 156 test matches.
At that point of time, that was the highest.
That was also a world record. It was broken by Steve Waugh.
Later on.
Yeah. Another record in that is that 153 of them were consecutive. You know how it is, right? He got into the team during the WSC, World Series era, when Australian team was ravaged by people not being available. Correct. And all that. So he came into the Ashes team. He played 3 matches. He had a bad debut and a 3rd test. The 2nd test, he scored a 45 not out and a 60 not out. Decent, okay. But he was dropped for the last test. He was picked again in the next tour and never dropped again. So 153 consecutive matches, 50 batting average, but outside Australia, 56.
Which is phenomenal.
Phenomenal, yeah. So 27 centuries and 63 half centuries. So 50 to 100 conversion, not as good as the Bombay Maestros that we know, both of them, in fact. So the thing I like really about Allan Border is that he played a brand of cricket, and there is a certain kind of scenario you typically find Allan Border in. Okay. And it goes like this. Australia concede a huge first innings lead. So in the 2nd innings, they are with their back to the walls. All the top order is gone except for Allan Border, and he is batting around with the tail to save the test.
True.
Now, I can give you a couple of examples. I will do that. But one of them is this. Okay, example is better than precept, right? I'll tell you this. In 1984, I think, in Port of Spain, we keep going back to Port of Spain, West Indies versus Australia. Australia, Border 98 not out. He was left stranded on 98, like Dilip Vengsarkar.
Yeah.
West Indies did some 400 odd, dominant, they declared and all that. Second innings, West Indies again ran through the attack. Uh, when the 8th wicket fell, Australia was behind West Indies' first innings. Border was batted with Rodney Hogg. They went on for some more time. It's the 5th day. They crossed the limit, they crossed the innings defeat number, but still there was a lot of time for them to take one more wicket in district. And Border and Terry Alderman batted till the very end. Border was 100 not out when the match ended.
That is what I know of Border. Grit and determination. He put a huge price tag on his wicket, which is phenomenal. I mean, what a fighter. Though a lot of people, okay, now if you compare players, compare another player with Allan Border, it would be David Gower.
Absolutely.
Both left-handed batsmen.
The names were taken together by analysts.
Correct. Both left-handed batsmen.
Absolutely, yeah.
Both captains of their teams. Okay. But completely different style of playing. Gower was all elegance, grace, and very pleasant to the eye. Whereas Border, he was full of grit, determination. Definitely not, elegance. Elegance is not name that you would associate with Border. But boy, if you wanted anybody to bat for your life, you never looked.
So David Gower was like a Mark Waugh. Border was like a Steve Waugh.
Absolutely. Well put.
And see, he was not very pleasing to the eye, his batting style. He's one of those guys who is not about optics. Absolutely. But he's one of those guys who will never let you down, batting wise. He will not let the team down. I gave you one example. I'll give you another example. Risk of being repetitive, but it is repetitive. Why is it repetitive? He keeps doing that again and again. This is against India. We have bad memories of that test match. You remember the 85-86 series where we went to Australia? 3 matches, all 3 drawn. We were in the driver's seat in all 3 matches. We could not convert any of them. One of them, the Boxing Day test, very similar things played out. Border was with Dave Gilbert. And they were just 48 runs ahead of India the whole day to play.
They batted it out.
Rain was expected. He was playing for rain. And
smart cricketer.
From 48 run lead, he managed to play with Dave Gilbert. Into the full session he played out. Into the second session, they took the lead to 126. Okay. He took singles of the last ball. He took threes of the last ball. It was MCG, so there were spaces.
Open spaces.
Yeah. And he needed threes because he wanted to take it slightly beyond India's reach. So at 126, Border got out. Normally, in these circumstances, it's the good batter who gets out 10th because he takes all the strike, right?
Correct.
He was covering Dave Gilbert. Now, 126 to win India, we had 25 overs and then rain came. But we did not do 126 in 25 overs. And maybe let's not talk much about that. We chose not to go for it. Maybe we thought there is more time. Or, I don't know, maybe if there was more overs, there was exposure for the 4th innings also. Srikanth wanted to push things, and only Srikanth pushed it. It was a draw. We were 59 for 2 in 25 overs. We had 126 to win. Match saved by Border and rain.
And our batting.
Yeah. So, maybe they thought they had more time. But 25 overs, if they had budgeted it, maybe we could have made a go for it.
Yeah.
In today's media frenzied era, we would not have risked not going for it.
True.
Might as well lose trying.
But to you, Border as a captain?
Amazing. Okay, Border. Okay, another world record. 93 tests as captain.
Which is phenomenal.
Broken by Graeme Smith later.
Because Smith took over
very early days. Border did not get captaincy that early.
Because after Hughes.
Yeah, he took over captaincy under really trying circumstances. You know that press conference and Kim Hughes in tears.
He also said once that if the team doesn't play well, I'm going to quit captaincy. Now that is something that the Australian media did not like, because an Australian would never throw in a towel like that. Because Border got so exasperated with the players that he said, if this is the way you guys are going to play, I'm going to quit captaincy.
See, Border took over captaincy at a very difficult point in time. The early days was quite bad. They had lost Ashes at home. They had lost Ashes in England. They had lost to New Zealand at home. They almost lost to India at home.
Correct.
Border averted it as a batter. Then things turned around. He and Bob Simpson struck up a good captain-coach combination. So his record is something like this: 93 matches, 32 wins, 22 defeats.
Which is
So the defeats are skewed towards the early part, the wins are skewed towards the latter part. He handed over to Mark Taylor a team that is much stronger than.
Do you think what Australia is today is because of Allan Border?
It has to be. He handed over a strong team to Mark Taylor, and since then, Steve Waugh, Ricky Ponting all took it to
Different levels.
greater heights. One more match I remember, and I give him credit for his captaincy since you spoke specifically. Normally, we don't give credit to his captaincy when we talk about that match. It's a very famous test match, the tied test match.
Yes.
We talk about Dean Jones, we talk about Kapil Dev, David Boone, all that. Let's not forget Allan Border declared twice.
Both the innings.
Yes. First innings, fine, he was on top. What about declaring
That was a very sporting
What
declaration.
about declaring at 170 for 5 and giving us a chance to win?
It was a 50-50% chance that on day 5, both teams had an opportunity to win. Incidentally, neither of them won, and the third result came up, and that was a tie.
Yeah, so you got to give credit to Allan Border for. That's why I said he pushes when he has to. Unfortunately, he also did not have a great team in the early part of his career.
True. But he built the team.
He built the team. Most of his centuries have come in a drawn course. 16 of his 27 centuries have come in a drawn course.
That's what Vishnu had told you. If you want somebody to fight for your, play for your life, bat for your life,
and
it has to be
16 drawn centuries in drawn matches would have been losses. At least in a handful of them, had Border himself as a batter not avoided it. I told you about 2 of them. There are more. So.
Now I'm going to ask you a very interesting question.
Okay.
Border and the 1987 World Cup.
Oh, wow.
He won it for them? First Australian captain to win
Yes.
the World Cup?
Yes.
Tell me what he did so special that Australia won.
Okay. Before that, the last captain to win a World Cup in red ball cricket.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. He took the wicket of Mike Gatting in the final. His first ball in the spell.
Correct.
Border brought himself on and Gatting tried to...
Why did he get himself on? Was it that partnership building?
The match was... he was
slipping away from Australia?
They were taking the game.
See, that itself shows the guy had the guts. See, you can come and bowl in the nets. It's no problem. But to come and bowl in a World Cup finals, when the opponent team is taking the game away from you, the confidence and self-belief that you have, that you can come and do something, is fabulous.
Absolutely.
And he's not a proper bowler as well, right? It's at best, I would call him a...
Yeah. He also took Imran Khan's wicket in the semi-finals. And
there also, Javed and Imran were taking the game away.
Not too many runs that World Cup. There's some captains who, when captaincy becomes a big part of what they do, eventually it takes a toll on their batting. At times, Border has gone through that phase also, and they also had new batters coming on. The 80s, they did not have too many batters of that caliber. Later on, Steve Waugh became a better batter. Border with the ball won Sydney Test, if you remember.
Yes.
The first day the West Indies batting collapsed against his innocuous left arm.
Do you know how good Border was as a fielder?
The direct hits?
Direct hits. How can we not talk about the direct hits?
Yeah.
From mid-wicket, he would throw down, and his ability to hit the stump more often than not is phenomenal.
So Border as captain galvanized their fielding outfit also in one-day cricket. They went into the 92 World Cup as favourites. They did not win, another matter. They had not gone into the 87 World Cup as favourites.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, let's not talk about who the favourites were and what happened and all that. Okay, another day. Yeah. But he turned it around for them.
So another thing that I always see is that all these ex-cricketers and cricket fans and the media guys, they keep writing down best world 11 ever, kind of thing. Gavaskar's name does appear in most of them.
If we are willing to go to that part of the cricket era.
But why, more often than not, you don't see Allan Border's name. Yeah. What is the reason for that?
I think...
is it that the number 3, number 4, there's too much of crowd out there like Viv Richards and Lara and Ponting and Tendulkar and all these guys? Is that the reason?
See, most of the great batters of the world, the template is like they're aggressive, masterful aggression. The Tendulkar brand or Viv Richards brand, Lara brand. Border was more obdurate.
Conventional?
Obdurate. He was defensive. He was he was not very pleasing to the eye. So he would put a price on his wicket. A lot of things we talk about Gavaskar are true for Border also. So not a visual delight, but he would put a price on his wicket. He would be very obdurate, stodgy kind of a batsman. So it's not a very pretty picture. Reason one. I think the other reason could be what I was mentioning. The scenarios he makes his impact felt are when his team has his back to the walls. I told you two stories, very similar stories, right?
Correct.
So it's a little, sorry to say, boring, right? I mean, it would
Yeah,
have been a
but-
lot more easy to talk about story of a flamboyant square
David
drives
Gower
and cover
and-
drives and
yeah.
all that. But
But he was a champion.
he was a champion.
He was a champion.
He created a winning team. Border as a captain alone is a great story.
So he left a legacy, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, he's built a team in the mid 80s, maybe closer to the end of 80s, and that went on to become a champion side in the 90s. They won the 99 World Cup. They won the 2003 World Cup, 2007 World Cup. I think Shane Warne made his debut under him.
Against India, Sydney. Yeah.
So he's contributed significantly for Australia. I mean, even now when you talk about the great Australian players, you talk about the Chappell brothers, you talk about Lilly, Thompson, Marsh, talk about Ponting, Hayden. I don't think Border gets that much of credit for what he's done. I think he's done more than all these guys put together.
That's right. I believe so. And if Gavaskar was my sporting hero, those days, the Border was one of the overseas cricketers whom I really liked, who I'd wish well for, like not against India.
Do you think that Border had this Khadus mentality of a Mumbai player?
Absolutely. So a lot of things we talk about Gavaskar, he also had. I won't lose my wicket, and he had a few strokes that half sweep, half swing. Good again. The ball bounces, and the cut was also good. He would play in India without helmets.
Yeah, he didn't require because the ball wouldn't bounce. And we didn't have a great pace attack also that time. So that was it. I mean, it was interesting. Yeah.
Absolutely one. And there's a lot to learn from the legacies of Border and Gavaskar. You spoke about the Khadus mentality of the Mumbaikar batter. Today, look at the way Test cricket is being played. Batters are willing to suddenly chance their arm when things are not going their way, hoping that you will hit your way out of trouble. There is an element of hope in those acts, and not just about being fully in control of your innings. So being ready to be stuck on a score for some time and playing it session by session is a skill that is slowly vanishing.
It's not there.
It is not there.
I mean, show me 3 batsmen in the world who can do something like that. It's not there.
So Gavaskar and Border kind of exemplify that skill, I truly believe. So
that was an
excellent session. So we have come to the end of this session. Let us know what you feel about the greatness of Allan Border and the greatness of Sunil Gavaskar. We'll come back to you soon. Thank you.